This is True Voice Unfiltered, the podcast where raw truth meets real transformation. I'm your host, Daria Anne, ghostwriter, content strategist, and holistic health warrior. No, I'm not a doctor, nurse, nutritionist, or any kind of medical professional, and this show does not dispense medical advice. I'm just an informed patient sharing what I've learned on my own healing journey. I also interview accomplished authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, and functional medicine practitioners who are transforming lives. If you're ready to break free from the sick care system, reclaim your health, and transform your life, you're in the right place. Let's get unfiltered. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of True Voice Unfiltered. I am so excited because my friend Michelle Kulp is back here with me today.
Awesome. Hello.
She is the fabulous, Michelle, I don't even know where to start. You have so many accomplishments, but Michelle is the founder of the Bestselling Author Program. She is a best-selling author. She's amazing, and I'm so happy to have her back on today because we're going to talk about a new program Michelle created actually last fall called the Tiny Book Challenge. So, Michelle, why don't we start off, for anyone who hasn't heard our interviews before, kind of tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to found the Bestselling Author Program, and then we can get into the Tiny Book Challenge and share that with everyone.
I sure can. So it started many years ago. I was a paralegal for 17 years, and I loved my job for many years until probably the last, 3 or 4 years. I had this dread every morning of waking up and going to work. I was a single mom with 3 young kids, living paycheck to paycheck, and it was very stressful. And I just didn't want to go to work, but honestly, that's all I knew was the law. I did it for 17 years. I didn't know what else I could do. And I was a job hopper, and even changing jobs didn't really change anything because at the end of the day, I was still doing what I didn't want to do anymore. So changing jobs and more money didn't fix it. As fate would have it, I ended up meeting Billy Ray Cyrus back in 1992 at a concert. And Billy Ray asked me a question that changed my whole life. And he said, what are your dreams? And I said, I don't have any dreams. My life's about survival. And he said, everybody has a dream. I want you to promise me you'll go out and find your dream. Now, Billy Ray Cyrus, back in 1992, all of a sudden Achy Breaky Heart came out and he was like this overnight success. But he says he's not an overnight success. He was following his dream for many, many years until that happened, over 10 years. So I couldn't figure out what my dream was, but I took his advice. I ended up finding a book at the bookstore called How to Find Your Mission in Life by Richard Bowles. And he wrote a book called What Color's Your Parachute? It was a career placement book. A lot of people know that book, but this was a little book that he had, and it kind of fell into my hands at the bookstore. I was at Borders Bookstore. That was a long time ago. And there was a question in the book, and it said, what do you love to do where you lose all sense of time? And the only thing I could think of is when I was a kid, I loved to read books and write. And I thought writing's my dream because I lose sense of time. When I'm writing, 5 hours could go by. And to me, it feels like 5 minutes of time. So I started going to all these writers' conferences and taking writers' courses and reading books on writing, not really writing any books, but just kind of like learning about it. And I realized I need to be a published author. So I tried to publish my first book on Amazon in 2011. And what happened was after 1 year, I had 0 sales. Until I realized Amazon is just a big search engine. If you're not on a bestseller list or a hot new releases list where people can actually find you, so it's sort of like Amazon leveled the playing field, and now everybody can self-publish a book, which means there's millions and millions and millions of books, right? So now the competition is really hard. So before, the publishing houses were the gatekeepers. Now they're not, and anyone can publish a book. But what that means is it's hard to get found on Amazon. It's great that we can publish and that we don't need a publishing house. Anyways, fast forward, I republished a new book and we did a launch and we got 2,159 sales in one day. And that book became a best-selling book. And it was also designed to sell some of my programs on the back end. So it kind of had a dual purpose. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. The book's a #1 bestseller and I'm making money on the back end from the book. So that's how the whole Bestselling Author Program started. And then I worked with a business coach in 2013, and we launched the Done For You bestseller program, where people could come to me with an idea and we would write the book, publish the book, edit, formatting, cover design, and then launch the book to the bestsellers list for them. And now we have something called a Tiny Book Challenge, where people can sign up and in 30 days have their own tiny book done.
Which is really amazing. And I wish I had known you, Michelle, back in 2008 when I wrote my first book, which was fiction sort of loosely based on some real events in my life. And I didn't know the writing was the easy part. Like that
Yeah.
part was easy. The book just kind of came through me. And then I was like, somebody said to me, well, you need formatting. And I was like, what's formatting? I mean, it sounds so crazy now that I didn't know what formatting was back then, but you're 100% right. And I think, yeah, the good news is Amazon has sort of democratized the whole publishing process. But the
Yes.
flip side of that is you as the author have to have high standards. You have to know what resources you need, and you have to be willing to kind of invest in your book so that it can become a bestseller. But you have to put out a professional product because you don't have a publishing house
Yes.
doing all of that for you. So that's really important.
Yeah, and people get stuck on either they have too many ideas or not enough ideas,
Yeah.
so they're not sure what to write. So in the Tiny Book Challenge, we figure out what to write, but instead of just like writing a book on any topic, we first go to see if there's a demand for that topic. So I teach authors how to look for highly searched keywords on Amazon to make sure there's a market for the book. I had a client years ago, Wendy Silvera. And Wendy came to me for my Done For You program. It was a $10,000 program, and she wanted to write a book on English cottage gardens. And I had never had anybody mention that topic before. And I said, oh, wow, that sounds lovely. English cottage gardens, so cool. I thought it was a great idea. And I said, let me get back to you in a few days, because I wasn't going to take her money if this book wasn't going to be a success.
Sure.
So I did my keyword research. And I found out there was no searches for English cottage gardens. And not only that, there weren't any successful books at the time. Now things do change, they go up and down. But at the time there was nothing. Like I was like, don't write this book. And I said, but told her while I did my research, I did find this topic called raised bed gardens. And I think it was raised bed gardens, and there was another term. But anyways, I said, can you write a book on that topic? And she said, oh yeah, we have raised bed container gardening. That's what it was. You can tell
Okay.
I'm not a gardener because I didn't know anything about
Me
it.
either. I didn't know what it was.
But this lady was like big time gardening.
Yeah.
So her and her husband, they signed up for the program. We worked together. And now they have 3 books, Raised Bed Gardens and Container Bed Gardening. And they launched an entire business around this book. They have a website. I think it's called Wendy's Garden Store. And she sells affiliate products. She does gardening coaching.
Wow.
And she designs, I guess, for the containers, like what plants go in what. So she designs things for people depending on what they want to grow. So she has like this whole business built around this book, but it all started with keyword research. Not very sexy, but
Yes.
you can either
But
write
critical.
anything, or you can write,
Yes.
where there's a demand for the topic. And that's what she did. And that's why her book was a success. So that's what I help people do in Tiny Book Challenge. Find something they're passionate about, but also that there's a demand for. So that's like step
Right.
1.
Exactly. And I think I want to be really clear. This is what separates what you and I do from other people that may work with fiction authors out there.
Yeah.
So in our case, the book is really a marketing tool to leverage something else, expand their brand and influence. Just like the example you gave of that woman, whether it's opening a shop or selling courses. We just worked recently with a client who had like 3 CTAs at the end of his book, which is more of like a leadership type of book. But so we're really strictly talking about nonfiction books. We work mostly with like small business owners, I would say, that want to write a book, again, to support their business, give them the credibility that they need. Because when you write a book, your credibility goes way up. I mean, you set yourself ahead of your competitors. All things being equal, if somebody's looking for someone in their area who does what you do and they see that you've written a book, chances are that they're going to hire you because you've taken the time to share your knowledge and expertise in the form of a book, which is also authority marketing. It's a form of authority marketing.
Yeah, and when I was a paralegal, we called it intellectual property, right? And
Yeah.
that is a very valuable business asset. You are taking what's in your brain and you're getting it out on paper and you're putting a framework around it. For example, one of the students of Tiny Book Challenge is Tina Vandell of the Smart Money CEO. She ended up
Yeah.
writing a book called Smart Money CEO, and that book is a #1 bestseller, all because she signed up for the Tiny Book Challenge. And so she already had like a business that she started, but she wants to grow and scale her business. And this book is actually going to help her get more clients. She's got a free strategy session offer in the beginning of the book. She's got a blog that she's doing, a newsletter, so people can sign up for some of her things. So it's pretty amazing what, one tiny book can do if written the right way, published the right way, and then launched to the bestsellers list the right way.
Yeah. It's funny. I just had Tina on episode 23. So I
Awesome.
released that episode this week. And one thing I did ask her about the Tiny Book Challenge was I said, did you find that the structure helped you? And she said, oh, absolutely. In fact, she told a story. I don't know if you were able to hear the interview yet, but she discovered you way back in 2020 when you were doing the book a month thing. And she's like, yeah, that sounds great. And then years later, it wasn't until this past fall that she joined the Tiny Book Challenge and actually got her book done, because she said that weekly structure really helped her. So why don't we talk a little bit about how the class is set up and what people could expect?
Well, I was trying to figure out how can I break this down into like a streamlined version. So I did teach a program called Digital Retirement Academy, and that was 8 weeks, and it has 45 videos in it. And it's very time consuming, right? It was about writing a book a month, replacing your Social Security income, creating passive income, which is great. You can still do that, but you got to get your first tiny book done first. So this was designed to be very streamlined, very action oriented. We have weekly calls. And we're working on things together. They're getting my feedback, your feedback on the calls. They have a clear path to publishing. But basically, it boils down to 4 pillars, which is prepping, penning, publishing, and then promoting. And that's it. So there's just 4 weeks of content with about 3 videos under each week. So it's not overwhelming. Sometimes I've signed up for courses as well, and you get in there. What I really love is mini courses, and this is like a mini course. I've signed up for courses, and you get in there and you're like, this is going to take me like 6 months to go through all the videos and checklists, and then you don't have support. So, what's great is we have a Facebook community. We have weekly calls, and then we have the training videos, which are short and sweet and to the point. And we help you come up with your topic, your title, teach you some new tools to use. We use AI as an amplifier of your voice, not a replacement of your voice.
Right.
Yeah. So we do teach a little bit of that in there, but we prefer, you to write the book yourself and use AI to amplify your ideas and thoughts, what you already have. And so we've had a lot of success with clients getting their books published in 30 days. In addition to Tina Vandell, we have Dr. Liz Jenkins, who's a relationship therapist. And she just got her book published, The Marriage Reset, 5 Therapist Proven Steps to Fix Your Marriage, Rebuild Trust, and Reignite Lasting Love. So, and then Lisa Ellis, Rising After Cancer, Tara Alexander, 48-Hour Virtual Interview Advantage. And there's others. I'm just naming a few here that got their books done. So I'm happy about the program because there's a lot of programs, and it's that 80-20 thing, like 80% of people don't finish. But the way we have it structured in just 4 weeks, it's like you can do anything for 30 days. You know what I mean? So just like going to the gym or whatever goal you want to achieve, and people are getting results.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you also have a little workbook that comes along with it, Michelle, which I found really so helpful, because along with the Loom videos that you create for each week, it's very methodical. So you can use that workbook though, and you kind of explain, like I know a lot of people use like 5 ways to do this, or I know that those list titles, at least I know from blogs too, was always like, 5 things not to do after a car accident. I used to be a content manager for a digital marketing agency that represented lawyers, personal injury lawyers, and estate planning attorneys. But I'm just saying that people love like those lists. They're very appealing. And
Yeah.
certainly it's true for book titles, in the
Yeah, I
subtitle.
have the publishing
So,
checklist in there. I have the bestseller checklist in there. We have a template for your
yeah.
book that you can just follow along. We want you to figure out like who are you writing this book for? So we have like kind of like like an avatar you fill out,
Mhm.
trying to really be clear on who you're writing the book for and what
Yeah.
is you're taking them, they say, you're taking them from problem to solution in the book. So making sure you're covering that and what they're going to learn in the book. And you just kind of follow the steps and you will have a book in 30 days, not 90 days, 30 days.
Yep. And the thing that's great too is, Michelle, you have all these resources. So for formatting, that's okay. I did the same thing. For formatting, cover design, editing, yours truly, I edited several of the books that you mentioned. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop, really, when people join. And you get a lot of support in that Facebook group. It's very active. People are always willing to answer questions. People will always give their opinion when you do get some different cover design concepts. Like, a lot of people post them in there and try to get feedback just to see what direction they should go in. So, I mean, it's so helpful. And if you apply yourself, you'll get a book out there in 30 days. I mean, the course is that effective.
Yeah, I think trying to write in isolation is really hard and why a lot of people never get their book published.
Yeah.
I know that in the testimonial that Dr. Liz wrote for the Tiny Book Challenge, she talked about she's been working on this book for years and never got it done, had all these ideas, but, based on our feedback and our help and the support, even with the cover design, the titles, the book
Mhm.
description, all of that is just getting feedback, getting support. And that can change everything because now you have the confidence to get that book published. And then you can either like Dr. Liz is writing a workbook to go along with it. I think Tina's going to
Mhm.
write another book. She's back in the Tiny Book Challenge, so you can write more
Mhm.
books. Or you can just write one book and then, build something on the back end of that book as a follow-up.
Yeah. And another important thing I want to point out too, when it comes to SEO,
Yes.
SEO for books is very different from SEO for blogs.
Yes.
Completely different, as I've learned. I mean, I was a content manager for almost 7 years. I've been
Yes.
writing content for digital marketing agencies for 10 years. And so it was just amazing to me how different the research is for Amazon for the keywords than Google.
Yeah, you're not looking on Google for the keywords because they can be different than Amazon. So the difference between Google and Amazon is in Google, I think people are just kind of like maybe just curious about a topic, right? Oh, let me look into this or whatever. But on
Mhm.
Amazon, people are actually looking, if they're looking for a nonfiction book, they're looking for a solution to the problem. They have
Right.
their credit card on file with Amazon and they're ready to buy something. They just need the right tool to make that happen. I wrote a book a month for a year in 2020 as an experiment. I had read an article on Written Word Media that said the average author who makes six figures has 28 books. Now that may sound like a lot. You're like 28 books, but I think what they meant was an ebook is one book, a paperback is one book, a hardcover is one book, an audio book. So it's like just different versions. So
Different
28,
formats.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
28 things to sell. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. I'm going to write a book a month for a year. I'm going to test this theory, see what happens. And it was actually really hard because I didn't have a system. I didn't have a program. I was winging it. But I did develop a system during that year to get the books done. And at the end of the year, I had created $3,335 a month in passive income on Amazon,
Amazing.
which surprised me as well. But what really surprised me is when I looked at the data of the books. So I published 12 books and 80% of my income was coming from 20% of my books. So there was really three books that were the top sellers. They ended up being a book called How to Find Your Passion was my number one top seller. Number two was probably 28 books to 100K. And then I published Digital Retirement and that ended up being a top seller. So people might say, well, what about the other books? Well, they did represent 20% of the income, so it still was valuable. But you
Right.
kind of learn what people want, what people like. I always say you don't decide what's going to be successful, the market decides. But you got to put it out there.
Yeah.
And writing one book sometimes is like trying to play the lottery. You're just buying one ticket and you're hoping you're going to win. If you publish multiple books, something will take off. I mean, I did 12 books to find those 3 books that were top sellers. And now if you're a business owner and you're just writing like a lead magnet book or a book to grow your business, you don't need 12 books. But if you're writing to develop a passive income stream, yeah, the more books you write, the more money you'll make. And one of those books will take off, or probably 3
Yeah.
of them.
And that's great. If you want to write a book a month and you are a business owner, you can get
Yeah.
the passive income and the expansion of your business. I mean, it's like a win-win if you want to do that. So
Yeah, because I
very
mean, let's
cool.
say you're an attorney and you have multiple practice areas and you want to maybe even just generate some leads for your business. You can
Mhm.
write small books, tiny books on different practices in your law group or whatever, or you can write one
Oh, yeah.
book on it and just put people, get people on your website, get them on your email list, on a call with them.
Yeah, and like estate planning is one practice area that lends itself well to that because you could do one on Medicaid planning, one on probate administration, one on, and we just
Yeah,
had a client, right? Why a will isn't enough. Melissa Yost, I interviewed her as well. I mean, there's so many aspects depending on what you do. For example, somebody like Dr. Liz, maybe she could do her next. I mean, I'm just not saying you have to do this, Dr. Liz. I'm just
right.
saying someone in that profession maybe could do another book like focused more on like parenting and children and those relationships. I mean, so many different ways you can
Different
take it.
angles for each
Yeah.
topic, and so you don't I think in the old days with publishing houses, it seemed like the average book was 60 to 80,000 words, which is a lot. The tiny
Yes.
book, we're talking about 50 to maybe 100 pages,
Yeah.
maybe 15,000 to 20,000 words, somewhere along those lines. So you don't have to write on everything covering the entire topic. Now, if you want to write one book, that's fine, or you want to write multiple books, it doesn't matter at all. It all really depends on your purpose in writing the book. Are you writing it to build a
Yes.
business? Are you writing it to create passive income? But either way, you gotta get the first book done. So that's what the Tiny Book
Yes.
Challenge does. It helps you get that first book done with accountability and feedback and
Mhm.
coaching and community.
Yeah, and I love like when you in the course you talk about different ways to set aside time for writing. You have like several different options there. I know that one week, the week that I taught the course, we spent a lot of that time just kind of having everybody quietly work on their stuff, and I think that was very helpful.
Yeah,
Again, kind of bringing that structure in.
like a
Because
co-working session, yeah, where we all work
yes,
on something. Yep.
and everyone really enjoyed that. I think we got a lot of good feedback about that.
People
Um,
love that because
yeah.
it's like designated time that they don't usually designate for that. So we get on the call and then we're like, all right, we're all going to go work on one thing for our book. And then we come back onto the call and talk about what we
Mhm.
worked on.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, and I love helping people sort of bring their vision to life and
Yeah.
learning. I mean,
Me
I've
too.
learned so much about so many different things just from being in this group. Whether it's the relationship coaching, what a fractional CFO does. I mean, I had a sense of what they did, but I really learned so much from Tina about what's involved with that. Her book is awesome. I mean, I'm going to use it in my own business, her 30-minute Friday habit, because
Yeah.
she explained things so clearly. And that's another thing too. Like we talk about honing in on your audience and also kind of explaining things in a way that your reader can understand, like without talking down to them, but just breaking things down to make it clear in the book, including CTAs at the end of each chapter, things that people might not think about on their own without the instruction of this course.
Yeah.
So,
And if you ever need help during the course, you can add on a one-on-one session with
mhm,
me and we can work on things. A couple of the authors signed up for 3 one-on-one coaching sessions. And what we did was we did the keyword and category research together on one call. The second call, we published their book together. And then the third
yep,
call, we did the launch together. So they don't feel like they're alone in doing it, where you can
mhm,
do it on your own inside the group of the Tiny Book Challenge.
that's excellent. So, Michelle, when is the next Tiny Book Challenge? Let's let everybody know if they want to join and
Uh,
how
The,
they can do that.
the Tiny Book Challenge is open now, and they can sign up at www.tinybookchallenge.com. They can actually sign up at any time because we have all the replays of the calls, but I'll launch the book probably quarterly. I mean, the
Of course, the
program, yeah,
challenge. Yeah,
quarterly for the live calls. So you can sign up anytime, but quarterly there'll be live calls. Yeah, but they can watch the
excellent.
replays as well.
All right, and I'm going to put that in the show description. so that
Awesome.
everybody can see it. Is there anything else you want to add that we maybe didn't discuss about the Tiny Book Challenge?
No, just get the book out of your head onto the paper. Yes, there's such a thing as writer's block. People will say they
Mhm.
suffer from it, but all the people that were in the course that got their book done said yes, they had writer's block when they try to do it alone. I think doing it
Yes.
with others is really the big key difference. So sign up for the
Hmm.
Tiny Challenge, and
Yes.
we write books right along with you as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best of both worlds because you have that community and then you have your time that you can set aside for yourself to do the writing. And I think that combination really helps because you have that support and everybody in the group is cheering everybody on. It's
Yeah,
very supportive. That's what I love about it. Everybody cheers on everyone else's success.
absolutely.
And we're just there to guide you along and really help you. And what a goal it is, really. And I
It
think it's
really is.
addictive.
It's
Like
a
once you
huge
publish your first
achievement.
book.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
really
if
is.
you are a business owner, it will set you apart. And there's a lot of podcasts. There was a book called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And he self-published that
Powerful.
book. And when he went on Joe Rogan's podcast, that book sold like 2 million copies overnight because he got on a podcast. So podcast hosts love to interview people with a
Yes.
unique perspective and a book because they have something to talk about versus somebody who doesn't have a book and just has a business and no book. So I think a book can be a great valuable tool and part of your like marketing strategy.
Agreed. And I've gotten myself onto some high profile podcasts with my book, and I'm
Yes, you
certainly
have.
interviewing people on my
Yes, you
podcast,
have.
which I'm still growing and I have plans for it. It's just, consistency is the key, I think I'm finding, and just put at least one episode out every week and I'm just constantly growing it.
Yeah, it
So,
snowballs. And that's what the Tiny Book
yeah.
Challenge teaches too. Get that first
Yeah.
book done. And then if you want to write more books, you can, or just focus on that one book and building your business around the one
Mhm.
book.
But you have the blueprint, when after you've done the
Yeah.
course, you know what to do. You've got the workbook. You're all set, even if you never joined another course. But like you said, we have a lot of repeat participants joining this
We
next
really
5
do.
groups. So, I'm really excited.
People that got their book done, but now want to write another book, and then they
Yeah.
join the next cohort. Yes.
Yeah. It's very, very, very exciting. So,
Awesome.
Michelle and I hope to see you in the next Tiny Book Challenge. I will put the link and all the information in the show description, and we hope to see you there.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Happy writing, everyone.
Hi, I'm Dr. Liz. I just want to tell you how amazing and easy it was to work with Daria on my book. You see, I've had a book for a while, been sitting on my desk, sitting on my computer. Maybe you might be able to relate to that. And I didn't know what to do, how to take it to the next step, how to make it polished and edited and easy and useful for my readers. Met with Daria, we had some great conversations. She learned my voice, my goal, my style, and she was able to edit and give me feedback on how to make my message clearer, more focused, polished, and it worked. I have a book. In fact, I have a book and a workbook that she's edited for me and guided me along the pathway. So if you're maybe a little bit like me, that you have a book or you have an idea and you haven't known where to take it, how to take it to the next stage, reach out to Daria. She's a game changer and she's really easy to work with and takes great pride in her work as well. So join me in the published author arena. Reach out to Daria. I'm Dr. Liz.